What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode. Dr. Mike Axler here, professor of exercise science, PhD in applied human physiology, 60 plus time marathoner and ultramarathoner, and performance coach. And today we're going to be discussing a longevity test, which I just recently stumbled upon. Perhaps some of you have tried this out before. I honestly just tried it out right now just to see if I could do it. And this 10-second test, or probably less than 10-second test, is said to predict longevity better than blood work. So let's test out these claims. So why longevity prediction matters. This is a huge topic on social media these days, and for good reason, right? We don't want to only just live long, but we want to live better. You could use any quote you want. It's not about the years in your life, it's about the life in your years. So this is mainly asking the question of, can fitness and your fitness results predict how long you'll live? And we know that we spend millions and billions and maybe even trillions of dollars worldwide. I don't know, I'm not like a huge money person, on things like checkups, scans, lab tests, gym memberships, gym equipment, all the rest of it, right? And that's okay. We want to be dialed into our health. But is there going to be one single food, workout, exercise, blood panel test which can predict mortality and longevity? Apparently, this exercise specifically requires no equipment, no blood work, just your body and you standing up and sitting down on the floor and then getting on back up again. And interestingly, this prediction method, this exercise, this test has been validated in multiple studies within thousands of adults. So let me please introduce to you the SRT, the sit-rise test, or the sit-to-stand test. It's a little bit different from the physical therapy test. And this sit-rise test, SRT, is supposed to be a wonderful test of longevity. It was developed by this Brazilian doctor back in the 1990s in like an exercise physiology lab to assess fall and mortality risk in the elderly. And what the SRT does is measure the ability to go from a standing position to a sitting position, back up to a standing position. It's graded out of 10 points, and lower scores have been known to correlate significantly with an increased risk of death over the next 6 years. And again, this was mainly to be measured in older folks, but now this Brazilian doctor is using it on younger folks as well, and you can read some of the research online or see some of the videos. So how the sit-rise test works. So what you're going to end up doing is just like stand up from your chair right now, and I just did it. I got a 10 out of 10. Happy to tell you guys that. What you're going to do is you're going to go from a standing position, you're going to go down into pretzel legs on the floor, and then back up again. But you do lose 1 point for every time that you use like your hand to brace your fall, or your hand to pick yourself on back up, or if you use your elbow, your knee to get on back up. Basically, you have to go from standing to sitting in pretzel legs, back up again in 2 fluid motions, one going down, one going back up. And it's a score out of 10. And what they're finding in the research from different studies from like 2002, 2016, 2020, just some of the research that I found was that scores less than or equal to a 3 out of 10, which is a 30%, very much a failing grade, those individuals have a 5 times higher mortality risk than the people who score over a 3. So try it out for yourself. Can you get better than an 8? And if you can't, don't sweat it. We'll discuss how to get better at this test specifically. So why this test works. The SRT is a snapshot of just total fitness. This is going to test your mobility. This is going to test your balance, your flexibility, your strength, your coordination, a whole lot of tests of physiological and biological and musculoskeletal function. And it also just captures what lab work doesn't. This is going to capture your neuromuscular control and your functional capacity. So neuromuscular control, how well you send out an efferent signal from your brain to your periphery, and how fast that afferent signal comes back to the brain, and how you can manipulate your body. And also just being functional. Can you sit down and stand on back up? Can you get pushed to the floor and stand on back up without getting injured? This is really, really, really important. And this is especially relevant as we age. I always talk with my parents about it, who are like getting up to 60. And I'm like, hey, if I push you down, can you stand on back up? Because by the age of 30, we're already slowly starting to increase the amount of osteoporosis we have, or bone loss, and sarcopenia, muscle loss. I know it's very, very, very tiny at 30 years old, but it's going to steadily decline. So by the age of 60 and by the age of 70, you've already gone through 30 and 40 years of muscle and bone loss. That's not even talking about how people typically add extra weight or become insulin resistant, or they become cognitively deficient because they're not challenging themselves, they don't eat healthy, they don't rest well. So incredibly, incredibly important test of longevity. So what does the science have to say about this? Is this just a bunch of hoopla? And what the research is saying right now, and I found some studies from 2002, 2016, and 2020, so just 3 studies measured in several thousand people over the course of these studies, was that each point increase in the sit-rise test equals a 21% reduction in mortality risk. So going from a 4 to a 5 to a 6 to a 7 out of 10 and on and up and up and up and up, those individuals who did score higher have a 21% reduction in mortality risk, which is awesome. And apparently in these studies, the SRT outperformed blood pressure, cholesterol, BMI, smoking status, so really, really, really well. Personally, I wouldn't take this test as like the end-all be-all of are you going to live long and well. I think this is a phenomenal test of musculoskeletal fitness and your functional capacity, but I would very much still go to your doctor, get your blood work done, get your blood pressure checked. Obviously don't smoke. So I think this test is wonderful, but it's not going to replace getting blood work by any means. How to improve your score. So we want to train for longevity here, remember, and not just aesthetics. So focusing on functional strength, can you go about your activities of daily living with great posture, balance, strength, endurance? So if you want to improve on this test and just in life, do squats, do deadlifts, bench presses, overhead presses, crunches, planks, bicep curls, tricep extensions, everything. Just get to the gym and work out. You could also practice mobility drills, right? So you want to have the best amount of flexibility and mobility in all of your synovial joints, from your wrists to your elbows to your shoulders to your hips, knees, ankles. We need to be able to move around. Even your thoracic spine, your cervical spine, your lumbar spine. Can you bend over and tie your shoes? Yes or no? Also, to improve your score, you could work on improving your balance with single leg movements. Sometimes when I throw some food in the microwave, I'll stand on one foot for the entirety of like the microwave cycle for maybe 30 seconds or a minute, and I'll stand on the other foot. And halfway through, I'll close my eyes and touch my nose just to work on balance, right? These are incredibly, incredibly important things to do. Some bonus, other movement-based longevity predictors. So we had discussed VO2 max in a previous episode. This is a test of your aerobic capacity, how efficiently can your cardiovascular and your respiratory systems deliver fresh oxygen to your musculoskeletal system while exercising. Also, you could work on walking speed and running speed. We know that a faster gait, aka the amount of steps you can take per minute, does equate with a longer life. Third is going to be grip strength. Grip strength is incredibly, incredibly important. If you're young and watching this, you probably don't think about your grip strength, which does equate to decreased all-cause mortality. So big picture with all of this is that yes, from the sit-rise test, we need to have mobility, we need to have balance, we need to have strength, we need to have flexibility. But then in addition to that, we also need grip strength, so we need to be strong. we need walking speeds. We just need to be able to be fast and powerful. And VO2 max, we need to have healthy lungs and healthy hearts, right? So all of this taken together, we just need to be healthy by exercising. Already TLDR, if you want to live longer, sit, stand, and move more often. This one test, the sit to rise test, says more than most labs. We know that functional movement is a very, very nice health span indicator. Luckily, we can improve our SRT scores with targeted training through mobility, flexibility, strength, endurance, all the rest of it. And longevity isn't just about living longer, it's also about living better. Awesome. And with that, I hope you did enjoy another episode of this YouTube video or the podcast, however you digested into this information. I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. And if you did not already try out the sit to rise test, right now everyone stand on up, sit on down to pretzel legs without using anything, and stand on back up again. Score yourself out of 10. And if you didn't do so well, go to the gym. If you did do well, still go to the gym. Please also make sure to scroll on down and subscribe to my Substack, as well as my Instagram, so you will not miss any of the up-to-date research on exercise science, nutrition, physiology, all the good stuff. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'll check you all in the next episode.